Of all the things you can control in life, the words you speak to yourself are among the most powerful. The way you think, the way you talk to yourself, and the beliefs you hold about your own potential. These shape the very foundation of your reality. Too often, people underestimate the sheer force of their internal dialogue. They let their thoughts run wild, unchecked, filled with doubt, hesitation, and self-criticism, not realizing that this is precisely what keeps them stuck. But when you begin to consciously direct your thoughts, when you make it a habit to affirm your own strength, your own worth, your own ability to rise, something remarkable happens. Words shape perception, and perception shapes action. If you tell yourself you are incapable, you will hesitate. If you tell yourself you are unworthy, you will shrink. If you tell yourself that failure defines you, you will avoid the very risks necessary for success. But the reverse is also true. When you tell yourself every single day that you are strong, that you are disciplined, that you have what it takes to face whatever comes, you begin to live as though those things are true. And when you live that way, they become true. Now, some people dismiss affirmations as wishful thinking, as though simply saying something makes it real. But this isn't about empty words. It's about priming your mind for action. It's about reinforcing the beliefs that drive your behavior. When an athlete steps onto the field, they don't repeat, "I hope I do well." They tell themselves, "I am ready. I am strong. I will perform at my best." That mental conditioning is not accidental. It sharpens focus, it eliminates doubt, and it prepares them to execute at the highest level. And this isn't just for elite performers. This is for anyone who wants to take control of their life instead of being controlled by their circumstances. The problem is most people spend years, even decades, reinforcing the wrong affirmations. They wake up and say, "I'm tired, I'm not good enough, I'll never change," and then they wonder why they feel exhausted, why they don't take action, why they remain stuck in the same patterns. They've trained their minds to accept mediocrity, to expect failure, to see obstacles as permanent rather than temporary. But what if instead they woke up and said, "I am strong enough to handle today. I have purpose. I have everything I need to grow, to improve, to succeed"? What if they repeated those words not just once, but throughout the day, reinforcing them until they became embedded in their identity? Because that's the real secret. Affirmations aren't about saying something once and hoping for the best. They are about repetition. They are about wiring your brain to accept new possibilities as reality. They are about drowning out the noise of negativity and replacing it with clarity, confidence, and conviction. It won't happen overnight, but over time, with consistency, those words start to shape the way you think, the way you move, the way you act. And when challenges come, and they will, you won't fold under pressure. You won't slip back into self-doubt. Instead, you'll hear that voice inside you, the one you've trained, the one that says, "You've got this. You can handle it. Keep going." And in that moment, you will realize that the power you've been searching for, the strength you've been waiting to find, has been within you all along. If you don't believe in yourself, who will? It's a simple question, but one that carries tremendous weight. People spend years waiting for external validation, hoping that someone will finally tell them they're good enough, that they're capable, that they have what it takes. But what happens when that validation never comes? What happens when the world doesn't hand you permission to step forward? If you rely on the approval of others to move, you will always be at their mercy. You will hesitate, you will shrink, you will convince yourself that you are less than you are, and that is a tragedy. Self-belief is not arrogance. It's not about pretending you have all the answers or acting as if you're infallible. It's about knowing deep in your core that you have the capacity to figure things out, that you are not weak, that you are not broken beyond repair, that regardless of what has happened to you, regardless of the mistakes you've made or the failures you've endured, you are still here, still capable, still worthy of growth. The difference between those who build extraordinary lives and those who remain stuck is not luck, it's not talent, it's not privilege, it's belief. The unwavering belief that their efforts will amount to something, that they can endure hardship and come out stronger, that their past does not dictate their future. Now, the challenge is that most people don't start with self-belief. They start with doubt, with hesitation, with the endless mental chatter that tells them they aren't good enough. And that voice didn't appear out of nowhere. It was learned. Maybe it was the result of criticism, of being told too many times that they weren't smart enough, strong enough, talented enough. Maybe it was the result of failure, of trying and falling short, and deciding somewhere along the way that it wasn't worth trying again. But here's the truth. Just as self-doubt is learned, self-belief can be learned too. It starts with action. People assume belief comes first, that they need to feel confident before they can take the leap. But that's not how it works. Action creates belief. You don't sit around waiting to feel ready. You move forward despite the doubt, despite the fear, and in doing so, you prove to yourself that you are capable. Confidence isn't something you are born with. It's built. It's forged in discomfort, in challenge, in pushing beyond the limits you thought defined you. And yes, there will be failure. There will be moments where you fall short, where you question whether you're even moving in the right direction. But failure is not proof that you aren't capable. It's proof that you are trying. It's proof that you are engaged in the process of growth, that you are willing to bet on yourself even when the outcome is uncertain. And that is what separates those who succeed from those who don't. The ones who succeed aren't the ones who never fail. They are the ones who refuse to let failure define them. You must be the one to decide that you are enough, not because the world tells you so, but because you choose to believe it. And when you do, when you truly internalize that belief, you become unstoppable, because a person who believes in themselves is dangerous. They are not easily swayed. They are not easily broken. They do not wait for permission. They do not allow fear to dictate their choices. They move forward with conviction, not because they are fearless, but because they have learned that they can act despite fear. So when doubt creeps in, when the voice in your head tries to convince you that you are not capable, you remind yourself of this. You have overcome before, and you will overcome again. You have the ability to rise, no matter how many times you fall. You are stronger than you think. And the moment you choose to believe that, truly believe that, is the moment everything begins to change. This isn't just some abstract philosophy, it's a psychological reality. When you approach life with a mindset of gratitude, you carry yourself differently, you move with confidence, you engage with the world in a way that draws people in, and as a result, you create opportunities, you build connections, you make decisions that move you forward instead of keeping you stuck in a cycle of dissatisfaction. The most successful people, the ones who build lives of real meaning and fulfillment, understand this. They don't waste time envying others. They don't spend their days complaining about what they don't have. They focus on what they do have, on what they can do, on what's within their control. And because of that, they continue to grow. They continue to create. They continue to elevate their lives and the lives of those around them. You have a choice. You can wake up every day bitter, resentful, focused on everything that's missing, or you can wake up and say, despite everything, I am grateful. Despite the challenges, I have something to offer. Despite the difficulties, I am still here. And that means I still have the power to change, to grow, to build something meaningful. That choice will define your life because the person who is grateful is unstoppable. They are not broken by setbacks. They are not consumed by envy. They are not waiting for happiness to arrive someday in the future. They are creating it now. And once you understand that, you will never see life the same way again. People carry their past like a weight on their back, dragging it through every day, allowing old mistakes, regrets, and failures to define them. They convince themselves that because they stumbled yesterday, they will stumble again today. That because they've struggled before, they are doomed to struggle forever. And so they live trapped, not by their circumstances, but by their own perception of who they are. But here's the truth. No matter what happened yesterday, no matter how badly you fell, no matter how lost you may feel, today is new. The past does not own you unless you let it. Every day is a fresh start, but you have to be willing to see it that way. It's easy to believe that change is impossible, that you are too far gone, that you've made too many mistakes, wasted too much time, missed too many opportunities. But that belief itself is the real problem, because as long as you hold on to it, you are giving away your power. You are surrendering before you even begin. And nothing, not your past, not your failures, not your worst mistakes, can stop you as effectively as your own unwillingness to move forward. You don't have to be the same person you were yesterday. You are not locked into your past choices. You can start over right now, and that is not weakness, that is strength. The ability to recognize that you are not bound by yesterday's failures is one of the most powerful realizations you can have. But it requires courage. It requires you to stop making excuses, to stop blaming circumstances, to stop using the past as an anchor that keeps you from moving forward. People look at their problems and say, this is just how things are, but that's not true. Things are the way they are because you continue to allow them to be that way. If you don't like where you are, change something. It doesn't have to be a dramatic, life-altering decision. It can be small, a single new habit, a single different choice. But if you commit to it, if you refuse to let yesterday's mistakes dictate today's actions, you will begin to build momentum, and momentum is everything. The problem is that too many people wait for the perfect moment to start fresh. They think, I'll change when I feel ready. I'll start over when I have more motivation, when things are easier, when life gives me a sign. But waiting is just another form of avoidance. There is no perfect time, there is only now. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner you take responsibility for your life, the sooner things will begin to change. It won't be easy. Starting fresh means leaving behind old habits, old patterns, old ways of thinking that have been comfortable, even if they've also been destructive. It means embracing discomfort, stepping into the unknown, facing the resistance that always comes when you try to do something different. But that's the price of growth. And the alternative? Staying exactly where you are. Every day you have a choice. You can wake up and repeat the same patterns, dwell on the same regrets, allow the same excuses to hold you back, or you can decide that today will be different, that today you will take even the smallest step towards something better, that today you will not let yesterday's failures define you, that today you will begin again. And if you make that choice, if you wake up every day with the determination to move forward, no matter how slowly, and you will look back one day and realize that you are no longer the person you used to be, because the past only has power over you if you give it permission. And once you take that permission back, once you decide that today is yours to shape, you will never be a prisoner of yesterday again. The way you think shapes the world you live in. It's easy to believe that your circumstances define your future, that where you are now determines where you'll end up. But that's not true. Your future is being created moment by the thoughts you allow to take root in your mind. What you dwell on, what you focus on, what you tell yourself every single day, that is what shapes the trajectory of your life. Because before anything happens in reality, it happens in your mind. People underestimate the power of their thoughts. They assume that thinking negatively, doubting themselves, imagining worst-case scenarios, none of that really matters as long as they try to do the right things. But that's a mistake, because your mind will find evidence for whatever it believes. If you tell yourself you aren't good enough, your mind will search for proof, and it will find it. If you tell yourself you aren't capable of success, you will subconsciously sabotage your own efforts. Not because you aren't capable, but because you won't take the kind of action that someone who believes in themselves would take. Thoughts create patterns. Patterns create habits, and habits determine the quality of your life. If you wake up every day telling yourself that life is unfair, that you'll never succeed, that nothing ever works out for you, then why would you even bother trying? And if you don't try, how can you possibly expect things to change? It's a vicious cycle, but it starts in the mind, and if it starts in the mind, that means it can be broken. Some people assume this means lying to yourself, pretending everything is fine when it isn't. But that's not what this is about. It's about recognizing that your mind is not just a passive observer of reality, it is an active force that can shape reality. The way you think influences the way you act. The way you act influences the way the world responds to you, and that response, over time, creates your future. If you want to change your life, you have to start by changing the way you think. That means being intentional about the thoughts you allow to take up space in your mind. It means catching yourself when you start slipping into self-doubt and consciously shifting your focus. It means replacing destructive narratives with ones that empower you. And it's not easy. Your brain is wired to follow familiar paths. If you've spent years reinforcing negative beliefs, they won't disappear overnight, but just as those patterns were built, they can be rebuilt. Start by paying attention. Notice the way you talk to yourself. Would you speak to a friend that way? Would you tell someone you love that they're destined to fail, that they're not smart enough, strong enough, or worthy enough? No? Then why do you say those things to yourself? You have to break the habit of treating your mind like an enemy. You have to train it to work for you rather than against you. And once you do, something incredible happens. When you begin to think differently, you start to act differently. You take more risks. You stop hesitating. You stop assuming failure is inevitable and start believing in the possibility of success. And when you move through the world with that kind of energy, doors open. Your mind is the architect of your life. If you allow it to be filled with fear, doubt, and limitations, you will build a future defined by those things. But if you fill it with possibility, resilience, and determination, then you will build something entirely different. And once you realize that, once you truly understand that the way you think is shaping everything around you, you will never again take your thoughts lightly. Because the moment you change your mind, you begin to change your future.